This segment, we're going to be talking about making offers. Well, how I make offers in my business is I simply ask the seller questions and let them make me the offer. My questions go something like this. Once I've had the sheet filled out, the virtual assistant or whoever, local assistant has filled out the initial sheet, and we have either a yes or a no answer on if the seller will do creative financing. So I ask the seller this question. If we agree on terms, what's the least you can take on price? They're going to give us an answer. And then my follow-up is going to be, is that the best you can do? And they're going to give us another answer. Either we're going to like it or we're not. Now, when we're buying with creative financing, it's much different than when we're getting a loan from the bank or paying cash or putting 20% down or any of that nonsense. In fact, most of the deals I buy with creative financing, I buy with little to nothing down. So let me ask you this. If you can buy a $400,000 house with nothing down, let's say in Indiana, the closing cost is $1,200. How many of those can you afford to buy until you run out of money? Pretty much unlimited, right? And turn around and if you do like we do in our business, lease option it, you get way more than that for, as a deposit, non-refundable option deposit from my lease option buyers. Then my next question is, if there's an underlying mortgage, so for example, on the filled out sheet, if the seller's asking $400,000 and the virtual assistant has already filled in that information, then my next statement is going to be, so we'll cover your $1,500 a month mortgage payment until we pay you off in full. Does that sound good? And then we're going to move along to the next question, which is the down payment. Let's say there's not a mortgage payment. Let's say there is no underlying mortgage and the house is free and clear. Then my question is simply going to be, what's the least you can accept a month until I pay you off in full? Now, perhaps they say, well, $2,000. Now, remember, I'm paying the taxes and the insurance. Because if you're buying this thing on creative finance, you as the investor will be responsible for maintenance and repairs and taxes and insurance. If you're buying with owner financing, if you're taking ownership of the property, which is what we do, you're going to buy it and you're going to be responsible for those things. And I'm going to say, so remember, I'm taking care of the taxes, repairs, and maintenance and insurance, so what's the least you could take? Maybe they come down to a different price. I'm going to ask, is that the best you can do? And either I'm going to like their answer or I'm not. And then I'm going to say, we usually buy with nothing down, and see what they say. Maybe they say, absolutely not, I can't do that. Maybe they say, okay. In the beginning, I was so shocked by the answer. I have students all across the U.S. that are still so shocked by the answer because many times the answer is okay. Again, remember, if you're finding motivated sellers, you're helping them in a situation that they need help. You are the answer to their prayer. Perhaps a belief out there among some people that investors are taking advantage of sellers. That is not what we do. It's not what I encourage others to do. We actually commonly pay more for houses than the seller could get anywhere else. In fact, that's one of my selling points. You would net more by selling to me than selling any other way. If we agree on a price and I send you a check until I pay you off in full. Why? Because that leverage, I'm able to make sense of paying more money. So we usually buy with nothing down, and then I move forward to the term. And if it's an underlying mortgage, let's say there's 26 years left on it, I'm just going to write up the term to the 26-year mortgage payoff. Now, if they say, well, how long will it take you? Then my question is going to be, what's the longest you could give me? And so we always go back with a question. Write this down. Always ask questions. So when it comes to getting these deals negotiated, what's the least you'll take on price, least you'll take monthly, usually we'll buy nothing down. And then, of course, when it's necessary to negotiate the term, what's the longest you're willing to give us? Once those questions are answered, then you either got a deal or you've got a dud. If it's a deal, then you're going to want to, of course, move forward to buying the house. If it's a dud and they want 50% down or some astronomical number, I'll tell them the house simply doesn't support that. What's the least you can take? So I have some people who I've worked with who struggle with wanting to get all the facts up front. We just need a few facts. Everything that I just explained on the purchase price and the mortgage payment, will they take terms, and a little bit about the house and what work it might need is really all the facts I need. If the seller gives me answers I like, Then I can start doing my research. Then I can start doing my due diligence. Then I can make sure that the roof's not caved in, either through photos or visiting the property. A lot of the properties I buy, I do virtually. So I get photos and have somebody local go look at the property. Ultimately, you can do it either way, whichever you prefer. Again, what we're wanting to accomplish through this is the unlimited growth. The ability to buy houses without having to go to banks and get loans and without having to go through all of the stuff that investors think they have to go through sometimes to become an investor and buy a house. Don't go to the bank. You don't have to sign a note and get your credit ran. We're buying the house, we're making an offer, and either the seller, it works for the seller or it don't. And I will mention that is actually one thing I love about what we do, is that we're able to help sellers. I've had sellers who would have lost their house and totally got zero. And I've been able to buy their house from them, put some cash in their pocket and cover the payments until I've ended up lease optioning the house and cashing it out down the line. And it was a win for them and it was a win for me, and everybody got good out of the situation. And that's the deals we specialize in. That's the deals we love doing. We love it when the seller wins and we walk away as the investor making money and the seller ends up getting whatever it is that they're needing, whether it's debt relief or a monthly payment or cash flow or whatever the situation is. I love when everybody leaves getting what they need out of the deal. So remember, our whole game in doing this, our whole plan in doing this is to have unlimited growth capability, to build cash flow, to build real wealth, and to own the houses. Now, should the seller, for whatever rare instance, not want you to own the house and you're okay with lease optioning it, then there is that option. You can rent it with an option to buy it, and you become responsible for their maintenance and repairs. Lock in a price now, close on it, and pay the seller off in a certain amount of years. Not my favorite way to buy. I just always go for the owner finance option because it's my much preferred way to do it. Whether there's an underlying mortgage on it or there's not an underlying mortgage on it, your objective is to buy the house, take ownership of the property, have the attorney to draw up the paperwork showing what you owe the seller or what you owe the lender every single month, and close this thing as soon as possible. Then again, the point of this segment is to help you know how to ask questions to, I call it making offers, essentially have the seller make us the offer and find out if it's going to work for us. And when it comes to these offers, this is where your money is made. If you ask what's the least you'll take, and they was asking 400 and they say 390, you say, is that the best you can do? And they go 385. You just made 15 grand by flapping your lips for 15 seconds. So think about that. And I mention that because when I was new and starting out, I would get so excited sometimes, and I would sometimes give much sooner than I should have. And well, you can build a business on paying retail for properties. Remember, you're not charging them a 6% interest rate, a realtor fee. So if that's a $400,000 house, that right there equates to what? $24,000. So there's no 6% commission. Usually we pay all the closing costs. That's a lot more depending on the state. And so look at what all you're saving them. That is a big favor you're doing for them. So actually they can net more by selling to you and still leave you equity. And so make sure you're making it a win-win. And don't forget, not only I talk about outsourcing the pre-screening of the properties and getting the sellers calling you, should you be nervous to get on the phone or for some reason not have the time to do so, you can outsource this too. I outsource it in my business. I have an acquisitions manager making these calls and negotiating deals on my behalf. Now, in the beginning, most people, like I did, make their own calls and close the deals, negotiate the deals, make the offers, and just get the front end pre-screening done. If you're making these offers right, do the math. If you're talking to 5 people a week, and I recommend 5 a day, that's 25 a week if you're only working 5 days a week. 25 sellers a week, an average of 5 minutes is about what these calls take me. That's not a lot of time dedicated to your real estate investing business. It's about 25 minutes a day. And what it comes down to is talking to the sellers, asking the right questions. Again, even once they're pre-screened, the majority of people you talk to are not going to be ones that you do business with, and that's okay. So make sure that you are making the offers, talking to the sellers, getting off the phone quickly when you find out there's no reason to do business together. And when you do find out there's a reason to pursue it further, then immediately move forward to doing your research on the property and moving toward a contract. So in this segment, we talked all about making offers, how to get deals, negotiate them, get the best deal possible, turn massive profits off of houses that you're buying now with little to no money and without having to go get loans and do all the traditional things that people think go along with buying a house. In the next segment, we're going to be talking about how to contract these deals, how to follow up and get contracts fast. I will see you on the next lesson.